Hello everyone, welcome to my class. Continuing with my previous video on 8086 pinout, where I discussed in detail about the address bus and few associated pins. In this video, I will discuss how the control signals are generated, how the data transfer takes place, and few more pins available with 8086. So the first thing in this video we are going to see is the pinout of the control bus. If we look the pinout of 8086 in detail, you can see that there are three control signals. The first one is the memory slash IO bar. This signal is to differentiate between the memory or IO in access. Whenever M/IO bar goes high, the memory operation is done by the processor, and whenever M/IO bar goes low, IO operation is done by the processor. The example given here is for IO operation, like in and out instruction will be in use. The next control signal you can see is the read signal. The read signal is an active low signal. It reads data from memory or input device. This signal is used to perform read operation. It is an output signal from the processor and it is written RD bar. It is an active low signal. So whenever RD bar goes low, the processor reads data from a memory or from an input device. Similarly, the next control signal is the write signal. This is also a active low output signal from the processor, and whenever the write signal goes low, the processor writes data to the memory or to the output device or output port. So for read operation, the data is read by the processor or the data is received by the processor, and for the write operation, data is transferred by the processor. So with these three signals, four different types of control operations are being generated. Like whenever the M/IO bar goes low, indicating that memory operation, along with read signal as low and write signal as high, it generates a memory read operation. The bus cycle will be known as memory read bus cycle. Similarly, when the M/IO bar signal goes high with read high and write low, this basically is a memory write bus cycle. Similarly, when M/IO bar goes low with read signal low and write signal high, it performs IO read operation, and M/IO bar low with read signal high and write signal low performs IO write operation. As from the above table, we can see all the control signals are active low signals, which gates will be used to generate these control signals. Hence, the gates used to generate the signal are, you can see here it is simple that when M/IO bar is low and read signal is low, my output will be IO read. We can use a simple OR gate to generate this active low output. When M/IO bar is low and write signal is low, it performs IO write, and a simple OR gate can be used to generate this. But when it is M/IO bar high and read is low, which gate should be used? So here we can see that when M/IO bar goes low with read signal low, the output will be low, generating IO read operation, or M/IO bar low with write as low, generating a active low IO write operation. But to generate memory read or memory write operation, we cannot directly use a OR gate, so we have to first invert the M slash IO bar, which is high, to a low value with a read as low to generate a active low memory read output. Similarly, when M slash IO bar is high and write signal is high, first it is being inverted to generate a low output with write low output to generate a active low memory write output signal. Next, we are going to look at the pinout of the data bus. As we know, 8086 have 16-bit data bus D0 to D15 and it is being multiplexed with the lower address bus A0 to A15 giving us a AD0 to AD15. How this data bus is being demultiplexed from the address bus. So two more pins we will discuss here to understand how address and data is being demultiplexed. They are DEN bar, which basically stands for data enable, and DT slash R bar. So whenever data is available on AD0 to AD15, at that time DEN bar signal goes low. This is the output signal from the processor used to enable for the data transfer. And as we know, whenever address is available on these pins, ALE goes high, and whenever data is available on this signal, DEN bar goes low. The second signal which we are going to discuss is DT slash R bar signal. DT slash R bar basically stands for data transmit slash receive. So it indicates whether the processor is transferring or receiving data. This is also an output signal from the processor and it controls the direction of data transfer. Whether the data is from the processor to the device or from the device to the processor. So whenever DT slash R bar goes high, data transmit takes place. That means the data is being transferred from the processor or the processor is performing write operation. And whenever this signal goes low, the processor receives data. That is, the processor is performing read operation. Now we will see how this DEN and DT slash R bar is used to demultiplex the data bus from the address buses. So here basically we are going to use a set of buffers, and as the data transfer is bidirectional, so we are going to look a bidirectional buffer in this case. So LS245 is basically a bidirectional buffer which is used. So to understand how this bidirectional buffer operates, one side of this buffer is called as bus A and the other side of the buffer is called as bus B. Both the sides of the buffer can be used as input or output side of the buffer. So first we will see how this bidirectional buffer operates. As it is a bidirectional buffer, it allows data transfer from port A to port B, port A behaving as input port and port B behaving as output port, or from bus B to bus A, allowing bus B as input port and bus A as output of the buffer. So as DEN is low whenever the data is available on AD0 to AD15. So DEN bar is connected to enable signal of the buffer and direction bit is connected with the DT slash R bar of the processor. So whenever the 8086 is in write operation, DT slash R bar will go high, making buffer in the transmit mode, and whenever DT slash R bar goes low, making your processor or buffer in receive mode. Based on the DEN and DT slash R bar, bus A If it is connected to the microprocessor, B bus is connected to data bus. Then whenever dt/r bar is high, processor will be performing the write operation, making your microprocessor as the input port and your data bus as the output port, placing data from processor to the bus. And whenever your dt/r bar goes low, making your microprocessor in receiving mode, and bus B behaves as the input bus and it places data on the data bus and it is being received by the microprocessor, and bus A will behave as the output of the buffer. And this is the complete diagram which indicates data bus of 8086. AD0 to AD7 is connected to LS245, which is a octal buffer, and AD8 to AD15 is connected to another LS245. So we require two LS245 to demultiplex AD0 to AD15 into D0 to D15. The enable line of the buffer is connected to DEN bar and the direction signal being connected to DT/R bar. After understanding how the address bus, control signal and data bus operates, now we can go to see how the complete system bus of 8086 looks like. So these are the few signals which will be in use during a bus transfer: AD0 to AD15, A19/6 to A16/S3, N/IO bar, read signal, write signal, ALE, DEN bar, DT/R bar. So we have already understood in detail how these signals or pins operate. This will be the address bus of 8086. This is the processor side of the interface. And this is the control and data bus of your 8086 will look like. You can see that there are 3 control pin available in 8086. With the help of logic circuit, it is capable of generating 4 different types of control signals: memory read, memory write, IO read and IO write. And AD0 to AD15 is being demultiplexed into D0 to D15 with the help of the buffer LS245, which is basically a bidirectional buffer. The direction and activation of these buffers are being controlled by DT/R bar and DEN bar. So this is all about the complete system bus of 8086 processor. The few more signals which we will look into are INTR, INTA bar, NMI. So as we know, 8086 is a synchronous sequential circuit and it executes instructions sequentially, one after the other. If you want to change the sequence of your execution, we can do so with the help of interrupts. 8086 processor have two types of interrupts. One is maskable interrupt and the other one is non-maskable interrupt. So we will look in little detail what are these and how they operate. The first signal we are looking is INTR, which is interrupt request, which is an input to the processor. INTR is a maskable interrupt. Maskable interrupt means it is being controlled by the interrupt flag. Whenever a device generates an interrupt request, the processor first looks into the status of the interrupt flag. If the interrupt flag is high or active, the processor will accept the interrupt, and whenever the interrupt flag is low, the interrupt request will be disabled. So interrupt flag controls the interrupt. That is why it is called as maskable interrupt. And whenever the processor accepts the interrupt, it sends a output signal or acknowledge signal, which is called as interrupt acknowledge, to the device, and it is an active low signal. So basically this interrupt INTR or INTA comes under your maskable interrupt. Processor may respond to this interrupt or may not, depending on the status of the interrupt flag. Whereas few of the very important operations of the processor are done with the help of non-maskable interrupts, which is your NMI. So whenever a non-maskable interrupt is raised, the processor will not check for the status of the interrupt flag. Rather, directly it will branch to the corresponding interrupt. Now, the last two signals in this particular video, I am going to talk about the hold and HLDA signal. So basically, hold signal, it is input to the processor from the bus master as a request to grant the control to the bus. This basically comes into the picture whenever we are in direct memory access or DMA is in use. Generally, DMA puts this particular request to get the access of the bus, and HLDA is the acknowledge signal generated by the processor to the bus master requesting for the control of the bus. This acknowledge signal is active high signal and it is output from the processor. In the next video, I will detail about the timing diagram and how these read and write operations are done by the processor, what is a bus cycle and how this bus cycle is generated, how the timing diagrams are generated, what is a ready signal, and when it comes into the application. So all this we will discuss in my next video. Thank you for watching.